Fourth and Four podcast sponsored by Inside the Leather Custom Putter Covers. Search Inside the Leather Shop on Etsy. Use promo code podcast at checkout to save 20% on your purchase. I'm Donald Lawrence. Our guest today is the king of the Buffaloes, Tony Davis, the defense coordinator at Bryan High School. Welcome to the podcast, Coach.
Thanks, Coach Lawrence. Appreciate you having me on.
We were talking before we came on the air that you are the most requested guest that has not yet been on the show. So we got to deliver.
I'll try.
All right, man. I tell everybody, man, TD was always ready. He was born 2 months premature. He was born ready.
I don't think that's true at all, Coach Lawrence.
Do you remember your birth?
No, but I think I barely made it to the hospital. I think my mom said she almost had me in the car. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it was. I mean, I was born in East Texas, so it's one of those things. So.
Yeah, like I said, you were born ready. You couldn't even make it to the hospital.
Yeah, something like that.
But you grew up in Giddings. We talked about you being the King Buffalo a minute ago. You played defensive line for the Buffaloes. Married your high school sweetheart.
I did.
Best thing that probably ever happened to you.
Yep.
You know, how'd your childhood in a small town go, and how'd that lead you into the coaching profession?
So I moved to Giddings basically all the way through school. And we lived on my grandpa's ranch, and just grew up. And as I was going through, started playing football and got involved in sports about second and third grade, and just small town and not a whole lot to do. So you just hang out and do stuff like that. And yeah, I did marry my high school sweetheart. It's actually because of summer strength camp is where I met my wife, because she did private school all the way through till 8th grade, and so I never knew who she was or anything like that. And so I met her and started dating after summer strength camp. So something like that. So it's a pretty cool situation to joke around now. All the things that happened through that time. But as far as getting into coaching, I tried in fourth grade. My brother, he was a junior for the Buffaloes, and my oldest brother, and we I just liked going to the games and being a ball boy and just helping out the team. And so then a ball boy for my brother's team, and then help out with water. And that was my way of going to the games. Growing up, my dad wasn't a coach or anything like that, but I grew up on the sidelines. Like that Friday, I was friends with one of the coach's sons, and when he left school, I left school. And it's not like some of these big towns where the school's halfway across town. All three schools are right by each other. So you're just walking to the high school from the elementary school, stuff like that. And so just doing all those things and growing up on a sideline, just helping out, being a ball boy, doing all those things. And I remember my brother and them, they would have film on Saturdays. And I remember going up on Saturdays, we're not playing football, they're in playoffs and stuff. And I'm folding the socks. I'm hanging the jerseys. And I'm just doing it just because I liked hanging out with my brother, and my brother had film. And the coaches, they utilized me, just helping around. And so that's some of the stuff I did growing up. And then you get into high school, and you start seeing some of these coaches, and you building relationships and you're doing all that stuff. And then it really hit me my senior year. I mean, you're taking 3 actual classes. And so you got office aid, you got an extra athletic period and all that stuff. And I had a coach, Coach Bird, who coached me my last 2 years there, and built a great relationship. And I was his office aide. He was the PE coach, and I was his office aide. And during so that would have been fifth period after lunch. I went down every day and either made water for practice because we didn't have trainers like a lot of the places have now. Like the coaches were our trainers. And so I was making water every day for practice, taking them out there, driving the gator around practice. I don't know if that's even legal, like kids can do that, but we were driving around gators and putting out water for practice and playing dodgeball on Fridays, stuff like that. And but just seeing the coach, like hanging out with him, that kind of eventually you realize I'm not going to be an NFL player. And so you start, well, what can I do with my life? And again, growing up on a ranch, like that wasn't my life. I didn't want to work on a ranch the rest of my life. And so what could I do? And so I thought about coaching, and I like helping people, and that's kind of what molded me.
I think only in Giddings, America, does the PE teacher get an office aide.
I
don't know if that's
everywhere. It was phenomenal. It was a fun time, and somehow, I mean, just like every high school, there was about 6 of us that ended up in that class every day playing dodgeball against just who knows. Like it was basically the 6 athletes versus everybody else at PE that could dress out. So it was fun times.
So you're like drilling kids in the drum line.
Yeah.
Kids that are in choir. You and your 5 buddies are just in there hammering those guys with dodgeballs.
Yeah, it was fun and exciting times. I mean, you build men.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, you build tougher people with dodgeballs. That's right. Yeah.
You know, one throw at a time.
Yep.
So after that, you got a stint in college at Mary Hardin Baylor, right?
Yep. I played a year at Mary Hardin Baylor. And then went to
Mary Hardin Baylor. Did you finish there, or where'd you go after?
No, I went to Blinn for a year because after that year of Mary Hardin Baylor tuition, you kind of have to regroup on your finances. So I went to Blinn for a year and then went and finished up at Sam Houston.
Okay, so at Sam Houston, did you go to Jolly Fox?
The Jolly Fox, Shenasties, all that stuff. It was. That was the highlight of it.
Yeah, you were in Hunts Vegas tearing it up.
Yep.
Huh? So after Hunts Vegas, you started getting into coaching. What was your first coaching stop?
So my first coaching stop was at George Ranch. I did the 4.5 year graduation plan. So I ended
up. That's not bad.
Yeah. It could be a lot worse. So I graduated in December, and my biggest thing was I was always going to it was going to be harder in college, but I was going to take the easy way out. So I got a math degree, so that there's always going to be a need for math teachers that are coaches. So I kind of tried to set myself up to where I was always wanted. And so when I graduated in December, you would think there's not a whole lot of coaching jobs, and there was a lot of math jobs at that time. So went on about 5 interviews and ended up having a few offers, and then went to George Ranch because I felt it was the best opportunity for me and my wife at the time.
How do you play dodgeball in math class?
With paper machetes, like not machetes.
Paper machetes?
No, paper balls. You just try to not aim at people's face, I guess is the better situation.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting. And one day you're going to have to show me how to do that with paper machetes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about George Ranch for a little bit. In 2015, right?
Yep.
You guys go the perfect season, 16-0. You end the year with one of the most dominant performances in state championship history, 56-0 victory in the state championship. Take us through that season. What was special about that team?
Man, I could probably talk 45 minutes alone just on that season. We had some special kids. Most people, unless you legit followed us at George Ranch, you don't know that the year before we had about 7 Division I kids that had graduated the year before. So everybody thought that we were going to be down. We still played the same schedule, so it wasn't like, hey, we're playing lesser talent. But everybody thought we were going to be down, but there was something special about that senior class. When they came in as a freshman, they were always up at the field house. They loved being at the field house. They loved just working out. It'd be 12 o'clock on a summer workout, and they'd just be out there throwing the ball, just hanging out. So they really enjoyed just being a part of each other. And so I think that's kind of what set us over the edge, is because at the end of the day, they were all boys, and they all tried to play for each other. And it wasn't anything that we did. It's just who they were. So that kind of set them apart. But the funny thing, I mean, I'll try to go a little bit through the season. So we start the season. We're playing Pearland Dawson, and we had put in a new defense. And Pearland Dawson, they got some good teams. They got some good talent there. They were a 6A team when we played them. So we're a 5A team trying to play 6A team, and we're playing them a new.
Now, what do you mean you put in a new defense? Like at the beginning of the year,
No,
or the beginning of that week?
During spring ball that previous year, we put in a new.
Okay.
Yeah, we put in a new scheme, and so it's the first time against a squad, and they're beating us by 17 at halftime. It's 24-7, and then our running back Darius Anderson just takes over. We start getting some stops on defense, and we end up beating them by 15 or so. And that's when it just clicked at halftime of that game. Next week we played Friendswood with Tyler Page. I think we ended up shutting them out, maybe, and then just keep rolling. We played the Mexico team, and then we start district, and we had Angleton in district, we had Foster in district. I don't remember who we started with, but then I know we're playing Foster. They had C.D. Lamb. They have very good talent, and it's a rivalry, but I don't ever believe in rivalries. I think it's just you play. Everybody trying to win and beat everybody. It don't matter who it is. And it was built up by the community and all that stuff. Dwight Howard, all those things showing up. And again, it's one of those things where Darius Anderson took over, and we started getting stops in the second half. Played bad the first half, and kids just take over. And and then week 10, we're playing Calhoun, who is a double slot veer, just grind the clock. I think our offense had, five total possessions the whole game. They kept the ball out of our hands the whole time, and we ended up having to stop them on the goal line for a 2-point conversion to keep the undefeated streak and all that stuff going. So that was a pretty cool situation for the last game. And then you start rolling through playoffs, play Bush, who lines up and empty the whole time. You got Nederland, who had a 2,000-yard rusher, and you just keep rolling. And then we played Temple, who we had played the year before, and our kids, they just wanted to, they did everything that they could. Like that week, you could tell it was different. There wasn't no playing around in practice. And it's not like we had to tell them, hey, get ready. That's what they worked for. They knew that they had lost. They knew. And so they just came back, and from the very beginning of the game, we ended up pooch kicking or kicking deep, and the kid didn't catch it. And we get down there, and we get the fumble on the first play of the game versus Temple. And that kind of set the tone because they had been used to us just pooching. And we ended up kicking it deep, and the dude bobbles it, and we end up getting it at about the 15 for the first series of that game. And then we kind of jump on them by about 2 or 3 touchdowns, and then they storm back, and then it's a back and forth game the last quarter. I swear it was the longest quarter I remember, and that was the regional finals there at the Berry Centers. So that was a pretty cool situation. And then we played Vista Ridge at NRG for the semifinals, and they did every formation you could possibly think of. And again, just hard-nosed kids, and and it's unbelievable. And then, so we're getting ready for the state championship game, and it played a factor. I'm not going to say it's not, but we get a call that we're playing Lake Ridge, who has been very good. They played. They were beating Longview when Longview was back in 5A at the time, but they kept running into Aledo. Well, they beat Aledo the night before that Friday night, but we get a call that in the fourth quarter the running back rolled his ankle, and the quarterback rolled his ankle like the next series. So we're like, nah, that can't. Like, how true is that? Like, they're up by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. They're just pulling them out of the game to make sure everything's okay. So we're playing them, and we're getting ready for a pregame, and they're hobbling around, and we're like, all right, let's go. But I mean, it played a big part just seeing them on film. So the fortunate thing was that year everything kind of happened. At the right time, we got a fumble. At the right time, we broke a big run. At the right time, something always happened. I think the only main injury we had that year, our offensive tackle, I think, got rolled up on and missed a game maybe. So other than that, like, it's all luck. Like, everything happened. The healthiness, the coin flips. We went a whole playoff season without getting on a charter bus. Like, we stayed in Houston the whole time, and so that's a big thing for some kids. So, but then we play the state championship game, and you're just playing it, and you look up and you're up 21, and then you're like, it's halftime, and you're like, all right, surely we're not going to be the team that blows a 21-point lead. And then you get the kids focused, and you just keep going the whole game, and then you finally look up and you're like, damn, that happened. So it wasn't like it was a big secret or what we were trying to do. There wasn't a big potion. The kids just believed in each other and worked hard, and you got luck along the way, and that's what happens.
What was one thing you did to celebrate after the championship? Maybe not that night, but maybe down, next weekend, take your wife somewhere special, go to Splash Town. What'd y'all do?
No, we just, on Sunday of that week, I was at church, and so I went to church in Katy, and Katy won state that same weekend, and the pastor, he was like, hey, congratulations on the Katy Tigers winning the state championship, and their starting safety was in church that next morning, and I was there also, and the preacher acknowledged me being from George Ranch, and we both get a little high five to each other, and so that was a pretty cool situation. But went out to a steak night. That's about it.
Hey, where'd you get a steak at?
Longhorn Steakhouse.
Is it better than the one you get? Better than one you make?
I don't know. It was more expensive. That is for sure.
All right, you go to Longhorn Steakhouse. What kind of steak are you getting? What's the cut? What's the level of doneness?
Well, I think that day it was a prime rib, if I remember right, and it was medium rare. So it was delicious from what I remember.
Do you ever get your steak anything higher than medium rare?
Oh, absolutely not. Like, depending on where the situation is that I'm buying it, I may order it rare, just knowing that you're probably going to overcook this, and so I'm gonna.
They're going to overcook.
Yeah. So
let's go back to the George Ranch run of 15, and before that, the 2 years prior. So the 2 years prior, in 2013, you go 14-1. You lose to Brenham 35-6. In 2014, you were 12-2. You lost to Temple. And you alluded to this when you were talking about your state championship run. You lose to them 28-14. What did you learn as a program, Coach Tullis, yourself, your coaches and staff? What did y'all learn as a program, and what did y'all adjust moving into that 15 season? Or was it just we're doing the right things, we made some small little tweaks, and it was just a special class?
Yeah, so all those kids, the Darius Anderson group, they were all they were all sophomores that first main year. So in 2013, that was our second year of varsity football. So what happened? Really, what happened is we just there were some people that they were experienced, and every game was like a big game, and there were some things that happened. So, and I remember, I still say it to this day that day in Brenham, we played them at Stratford, and it was the coldest game we had ever been in. Our kids, we were really cold, and their kids are out in sleeveless shirts, and they're getting it in pregame, and that was just the different mentality of and experience. Like, we weren't used to playing in the cold. We hadn't been in that situation before. So that was in 14. Or 13. Headsets, like, there was all kinds of issues just that day. That again, it all happens for a reason. But that whole class, we had a good senior class because that was the first freshman class that opened up George Wrench. So that was the first group that went all 4 years of George Wrench. So, which had that 3-year stretch, we had some unbelievable talent. Don't get me wrong. They were very talented. O-line, D-line, the skill positions. We just had we had some really good players, but we were able to compete because they didn't know no better. They didn't know, let's be scared of Fort Bend Marshall. Let's be scared of these two. Like, let's go play and go have fun. And so that's why I think we kind of built the tradition. We kind of built the tradition of, hey, I don't care who you are, we're going to try to beat you. And so that's kind of the main thing. Because even as that first varsity year, the year before, we went 5-5 and we beat a top 5 team in Angleton at our place. So the kids didn't know any better. They were all pups. That senior group that we won the state championship with, they were all pups. They were all sophomores on that playoff team. So that kind of helped set the stage when you got some younger kids, skill kids playing with you. So that was 13. And again, you play a Cortland Sutton, who's still in the league playing receiver. He was out at Brenham that day. So it's not just an easy dude to cover. And he's playing receiver, and he's playing 8-tech and just 6'4" and causing havoc. So that wasn't a fun time. But then in 14, we played Brenham or played Temple, and we're playing them in Round Rock. But we lost the flip again. So it was almost like a home game for them. Again, things happen. We leave the equipment door open on the truck, like stuff that doesn't usually happen, but it happened. Like, there's signs that you like look back and you're like, damn. It kind of told me how the day was going to go. And we show up and they're 400 deep at the gate waiting to open, and it's a home game for them dang near. And so as much tradition as we tried to build, it was still community versus community. And we were a community, like, there's 5 schools in Lamar Consolidated, 4 at the time, but it was kind of community. Temple was a city, like, they had everybody behind them. And so you kind of
good tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. Temple they were deep. They filled up the palace that day. And so it's just, there's those things that you kind of get from one-horse towns, which was a Brenham, which was a Temple. And we're playing them. It's a 0-0 game in the second quarter. And our quarterback, who's a runner at the time, he was going to pull the ball. He was going to start pulling the ball, and he pulled the ball, got an injury. He was out the rest of the game. So we ended up bringing in a sophomore who ended up started the last 2 years there at George Ranch for us and won that state championship at quarterback. But it just kind of took our breath away, just losing your quarterback and going from there. But you battle with them the whole game, and you just think, what if? So that was all. That was all the little things with those teams, and it was a 0-0 game. He fumbles when he gets hurt. They score a few plays later. We end up having to punt the next series, and they scored 2 plays later. Like it, just like that, it just changed the little momentum that we could have had.
So going back to the original question, what did you learn from those experiences? I guess one you talked about in 13 was just being able to handle the elements, right? You talked about the
Yeah.
weather, not letting that stuff affect you, still being the most excited team to play regardless of the elements. And then in 15, or in 14, excuse me, that Temple experience, did you learn to embrace our community and it doesn't matter who we go play? If they're a one-horse town, they got 400 people at the gate, or like ignore them? That's just one extra element. It's still all about us. Anything along those lines that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it was just trying to overcome adversity, mainly more than anything, because you look at it in 15. Then that first game, we overcame adversity, down by 17 the first quarter. The third game of the year, our starting running back didn't even play versus Morton Ranch. Our backup, who ended up going to Colorado, which is a good situation to be in, like he rushes for almost 300 yards. Like it's adversity, and I think that was what built us that 14 year. Still had success, but the adversity, because even then we lost our starting safety or 8 tech during 2 days practice doing a special teams drill, and he was probably our best player on defense that year. So just the adversity that we had to overcome in 14 that we were still successful with, but not the state championship that we could have been.
So you've had the 16-0 season, you've had a 5-5 season. In this day and age, you're in, Brian, boarding the ship for those Vikings,
Yep.
right? How do you say it?
Board the ship.
You have one of those horns. Ooh.
There's one of them horns somewhere around. We actually have one connected to a compressor that the band people use, and so when we run out, we start doing this boom boom skull that the Vikings use. So
Yes.
our crowd starts doing that, and then the band director hits the compressor, and it goes through this big horn. So it's pretty cool.
That's sweet. Back to my original question. With season success, finish at the top, finish 500. How do you define success year in, year out in your football program?
So year in, year out, it's really who the kids are and how they end up being. You've worked with us. Our biggest saying is, what type of person are you 10 years down the road? Are you able to be a good husband? Are you able to be a good father? Are you able to keep a job? Because that's the main thing, that hopefully through the adversity, through the accountability, through all the things that every athletic program holds you to, are you going to be successful doing that from our program? And so that's the biggest thing. It's not about wins and losses. Like, I'm the same person whether I'm 16-0 or 5-5, whether I'm 6-5 or 12-2. Like I'm the same dude. Whether I'm a D-line coach or a coordinator, it doesn't matter. I've been the same little kid basically my whole career, and I don't know no better.
I'll tell the listeners this. Tony is one of the easiest and best people to work with that I've ever come across, except for one time. And I think it came at 6:45 in the morning, and I was the last one on board with this conversation. I think you had already talked to somebody in the office about this, but we were having a little issue on how we were switching freshman skill guys that played both ways. and you snapped at me.
I don't even.
And I still remember that.
I don't remember
Of
that.
all the things that we've been through, you yelled at me over freshman crossover players at practice time. So that was the one time we mixed it up a little bit.
And I apologize if that. I'm glad you still remember that, because I don't. Like,
Of course I remember it. It was rude.
Well, I tried not to do it. I don't think I did it again, though.
Yeah. Threw signed balls in my office, zip tied my keys to the keyboard.
I'm pretty sure that's what you did every time to me.
Who's the best player you ever coached against?
So this is a tough one. So one that everybody's going to know. So first off, Darius Anderson, we coached, and he was a freak. Yeah, it's hard to say. You're standing there on the sideline after you meet with the defense, and you're just sitting there, standing there, and you're like, all right, when's this dude going to take over? And he just took over. There'd be no hole, and he take over. And that's just what he did. But what people didn't see is the grind he did outside. When Darius Anderson was at the weight room, he was working. He was working on the field. He was working on his craft. He had a ton of God-given ability, but that's what he did. But in 14 and 15 at Foster, we played CeeDee Lamb. And so here's my CeeDee Lamb story. First off, he's a really good athlete. So we're playing Foster, and again, we're down. I don't know if it was at half or at what point, but we come back. Darius takes over, and we come back, and we're up by, I think, 2 touchdowns at the time with a few minutes left. And so you start feeling it, you're like, yeah. Well, I'm hyped. I'm excited on the sideline. Darius just did something, or we just made a play. And so we're kicking off up by 2 touchdowns, and we were pooching at the time. Well, CeeDee Lamb's standing right there. I think it was probably the 25, and he's right there beside me. And I start like yelling and doing one of those things. And sure as hell, we kick it, pooch it straight to him, and he returns that thing 75 yards. I don't think we touched him at all. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And so, like, that was my CD story. Like, I think he looked at me and was like, all right, I got you. And he returns the thing. I'm like, really? There's nobody else we could kick this ball to. And so that was with him as a junior. And so Foster played Temple in 15, the game before us. So they played him in the 3rd round, and he's playing offense and defense. He's playing DB and he's 6'3" and just getting up. And if you throw it deep, he's going to pick it off. And so CeeDee Lamb, he was a freak. And then there's Derek Griffin, who was at Terry High School. He's a 6'6" receiver, and they're playing under center veer and putting him out wide. And you can't double him because then you don't have enough people on the run. And they're throwing it up to him. And then you watch him in basketball season, and he's putting on a Ball is Life clinic film and just a freak. Well, he ended up he went to A&M, something that worked out. Well, he goes to Texas Southern. His freshman year sets the touchdown record. They don't go to a playoff game. He shows up on Saturday or Sunday, a day or two after the football season, and drops 20 and 20 versus Baylor. And I'm like, this dude is a freak. And so I remember him. But then, like, we played Duncanville this year, and I don't remember his name. He's an O-lineman. Normally you don't say O-lineman. So you have your hand pick which one you can pick from Duncanville right now. And I remember this kid because this kind of set the tone. And they run a screen. So this backside tackle sifts through, goes up, climbs like he's going to go get a backer, and then like turns around, picks up the end on the backside, kind of shimmies him a little bit. They get the screen off, and then he like turns 360 like looks like he's in a leotard, like doing some dancing, and like waves on the running back, like, come on. And he takes off and is leading this running back down the field. I'm like, what are we doing right now? So that, I don't even know his name. I think he just went to TCU, but like there's some freaks out there. So that's kind of the cool part is you see some of these kids and you see them when they're kids. And yeah, you're going against them. You ain't got no ill will versus a kid. But then you start seeing them as progressing. You're like, that's pretty cool for that kid that you at least were near him. So
I got two similar stories. So Keith Ford that played at Cy Ranch and then went to A&M and Oklahoma and played running back. Similar story. We're playing Cy Ranch, and they're good on defense. They're good on defense this year. I think it was the year after they went to the state championship and played Allen. And it's 35-35 at halftime. And we're kicking off. And the one rule all week is don't kick to who?
Yeah.
Don't kick to Keith Ford. Kick it right to Keith Ford, 98 yards, touchdown. End up losing the game, something crazy, 60-something to 50-something. But it's like, God, the same thing as that CeeDee Lamb story. And then I'll hit on this. My year at A&M Consolidated was 2011, so we matched up with that district that you do.
Yeah.
And we played DeSoto first round at DeSoto. And here's what I remember from the game. I remember both our running backs, we had two D1 running backs. Both of them were out. They got hurt the week before in Belton. So we're playing our JV kid at running back. And we start the game. They have a defensive end that's going to A&M. And we start the game in a special Wildcat package. We're going to run power. We put a defensive guy to go kick out this end. The JV running back takes a snap. 8 yards untouched. 8 freaking yards untouched. I didn't think we were going to gain a yard in the game. Safety comes out of nowhere, takes his legs out, ball's fumbled. The next thing I remember, Tony, was pulling the bus into the parking lot at 2:30 in the morning from DeSoto, Texas. I don't remember anything else in between.
Yeah.
It was a butt kicking.
Yep.
That's some good football in that area.
Yeah, they're very
in episode
talented.
4 of the yeah, I'm glad you got to experience that firsthand.
Thanks.
That's good for you as a young coach.
Yep.
In episode 4 of the podcast, me and Coach Dyer, man, we briefly discussed your first clinic presentation. Took you on the road, man. Traveled to Arkansas. You know, what did you learn from your first speaking opportunity? And I know now you're doing some head coaching interviews. You know, what do you learn every time you go out and go through that process?
So just confidence in what you know. It's just like a teacher. You got to have confidence in front of those students because they're going to be able to know if you don't understand what you're talking about or if you're trying to go by. So having confidence, prep. So just breaking down all the film, knowing what key points you want to talk about during that. So that's the professional part of that. But there's a lot of things I learned about that trip.
Name 2.
The boat game's one of them.
Boat game's one.
Which is not safe to play on a 2-lane road. It's a little bit harder, and it gets competitive when you got 3 coaches in the car. And then to make sure that you always lock your car. And hold on, I got a third one that Donald Lawrence is not in charge of GPS and where you're supposed to go. That kind of can lead to issues.
We told the Robbie story. We probably don't need to tell the lock your car story.
Yeah,
You know, with the exception of Coach Raffel making snickers about your freaking talk in the background, I thought you did a great job.
Oh, I appreciate
know what
it.
his problem was that day.
Yeah.
What is something you know now that you wish you knew sooner?
So just that, I mean, you know everybody's different, but you don't know everybody's situation. And equal's not always, or fair is not always equal. You got different situations in kids. You try to have a standard, but this kid that's late because he slept in And this kid that's late because mom just got off of working 2 jobs and she's his only ride from 10 minutes away. That's two different situations. And it's not a black and white thing. There's some gray built in there somewhere. But it all comes down to communication and building relationships with kids and understanding their situations, because that kind of sets you apart. Understanding what kids are going through nowadays.
Yeah, treating people fair and not equal,
Yep.
definitely. And then just having the mindset to kind of piggyback on that of giving people the benefit of the doubt. All right, so maybe this person's late because they were trying to help get little brother A, B, and C to elementary school, right? Or
Yeah.
they don't have their clothes because their washer and dryer machine broke, or somebody cut you off on the way to work. Well, maybe they got a really sick kid in the car they're trying to get to the hospital. Like trying to have this mindset of just taking a step back and giving people the benefit of the doubt is really, really helpful. You know,
Yeah.
it's easy to just get just mad at everything, right?
Yep.
Everybody, but people, this is rule number one, and I teach this to my kids first day of school. All right, people are crazy. The sooner you realize people are crazy, the easier life gets.
That's a good way to put it.
How do you balance coaching, family time, and personal time?
So my family, they're great. I got a great coach's wife. I don't know that she signed up for it, but she's fallen in, and she does the best job that I think you could do. And my 3 kids, again, they didn't sign up for it, for dad to be a coach, to August through December sometimes, just not being around on weeknight when they're getting ready to tell somebody about their school day. So it's tough at times. Luckily, there's FaceTime nowadays. You're able to, anytime that you can take a part of your kid's life, it affects a lot of people. The same way that you build a relationship with your athletes, just asking them how their day's going. It's not just practice time. Just kind of understanding that. I'll tell you a story. In 2016, we were at coaching school, and we just won the state championship. Got your ring on. Thank you. Walking around coaching school, sweet. And we go to the head coaching academy, and I'll never forget. Andy Evans is up talking from Tatum, who has, I think, won maybe 2 state championships, and his son had just died, and in a car accident the year before. And he said, I'll never forget this. He said, I'll give every one of these medals back, every one of these rings back for 5 minutes with my son. And you take that guy that just won a state championship, I'd give every win away for my kid. Same exact thing. And you take this perspective that it is about our family. The wins are cool. Like, I'll give up every win to spend time with my kid. You still want to win. You still want to be competitive. You want to do all those things. The winning is just a byproduct of building good people and spending time with your family. And so that's the big thing. And I'll never forget that. And that's kind of, ever since that day, you just sit back and you're like, okay, we lost. Yes, I grinded. I tried to go Sunday or Saturday through Friday and gave it my best shot. But on Friday night, I know after the game, my son and my 2 kids are going to be running up to me. Whether we win or lose, it don't matter. So you kind of still, at the end of the day, you understand who's important, and you got to take a breath, and you want to win. You want to do what you try to work for week to week. But there's one winner and there's one loser every Friday night. So that's what it comes down to. And just never forgetting that those kids and your wife are the most important thing.
That's one thing that Coach T is really, really good at. He's good at combining both of those aspects, right? Of you being on a schedule to be a competitive football team, as well as incorporating family time, and then doing things as a staff that incorporate your family.
Yeah.
I think Wednesday night is huge. Wednesday night is awesome. I'd never been on staff that was something like that, but just taking time during the season on Wednesdays before you got JV and varsity night, families invited, firing up the pit. And, if you ever work on a Tony Davis staff, man, he'll fire up that pit. He'll overseason and overcook, but
What?
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The pork chops, occasionally.
Hey, I got them on point right now. I got it good.
They good?
Yeah, one of the big pork loins, slice it up, stays moist every time. It's good.
Has your smoked queso improved?
I haven't done queso in a long time. It's
okay. True or false? Let's start a little segment here. All right. You can only answer in one word, true or false. Okay. We went on a beach trip. Everybody chipped in $20. You were supposed to buy the groceries. You showed up with frozen patties and a bottle of Fiesta Hamburger Deluxe seasoning. True or false?
true. What's false in that is I don't think everybody chipped in $20. I think like you were the only person that chipped in $20. So I think it was you and me paying for everything. So yeah, true.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that then. All right, man. Anything else you want to say on the cast? Oh, there is one thing I do want to talk about is you hit on coaching school earlier, and I didn't know you were going to go that direction with your coaching school story.
My bad.
I thought you were going to go. No. It's good. That's good. That's what the listeners want to hear, man. It keeps things in perspective. If I'm a listener and I'm waking up and I'm grinding and I hear that aspect of it, you know what? I'm going to go make sure I say good morning to my kid before I take off to work. So I appreciate that. What I thought you were going to talk about was 2 years ago, we run into Vietnam Vic. Right? So you want to know who a foxhole type guy is, and I already told you this, Tony's one of the best people and easiest people to get along with and hardest workers that you can work with. But Tony had my back one time in a parking lot when a guy named Vietnam Vic he was not happy that we were in his presence.
Yeah, he I don't even know what he was angry about, but he just started yelling at me, you, and Guy. Guy was on there. Guy was joining us that night.
Yeah. It was. I think he was yelling at the car. To be honest, there were people.
Yeah, I don't think
the patio that were yelling at him, and he was just turning in circles, yelling at everything.
Yeah,
That was there was karaoke that night.
Yeah.
Do you remember one song from them?
No, probably
from
not.
That night?
Probably not.
Come Sail Away?
Yeah, probably. I think there was a few good people there too that night.
They were really good. That's the best karaoke bar in San Antonio, on the east side of San Antonio. You ever get a chance to go check it out? I don't know the name of it. Just ask for Vietnam Vic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. 4th and 4. You ready?
Yep.
All right, I'm a 21 personnel team, and I depend on my run game. I use a lot of shifts, motion, and work under center 90% of the time. My passing game is a few quick game concepts, smash variations mainly, and I depend on hard play action. On 3rd and 4th down, I'm 80% run if I need less than 5 yards. I'm in the middle of the field. I'm in pro-I twins. My tight end is on my right and your left, twins opposite. Slot receiver starts in jet motion. My top 3 run plays in this structure are duo strong, jet sweep strong, GF counter weak. My top pass puts the motion guy on a shoot route into the flat and my tight end on a corner, creating my smash concept. What are we doing?
So, you know me, I'm probably going to be lined up in a base situation. I don't do a whole lot more than that. But we're a pretty balanced defense. So my corner is going to be, he'll be 4x4 on the outside of that tight end, maintaining leverage the whole time. So the jet sweep, he'll be down and outside already. The jet sweep will end up having to cut up if it needs to. If it turns into the smash route, that corner's got to do a great job of trying to midpoint those two. I'll have a safety over the top of the smash, but making them throw the shoot route and try to get it less than 5. Make you try to work your way down the field whatever that situation may be. As far as counter weak, got an 8-tech out there for a leverage player. Our inside backer is going to spill, and our middle safety will be unblocked for the counter. And then duo, if you block down, our backer is going to fill in a hurry. So you're not going to be able to just sit on those duo double teams all night.
What's your base structure
We're
right now?
we're
What
three.
are we talking about? 3-4?
We're 3 safety. The old 3-3-3.
We're back into the 3-3-3.
Yeah, we're 3-3-3.
Okay, I got you. All right, just want to make sure on that. All right, man, good stuff, dude. Got the stop, got the win.
Appreciate
Feeling
it.
good about yourself?
Yep.
All right, dude. This was a lot of fun, man. Good luck on everything you got going on right now.
Appreciate it,
Tell the
man.
family I said hello, and I'm going to go back and watch this and make sure I give a prayer to every one of those cross behind you. I need it.
Yeah,
All right.
you do. It's always
All
good.
right, man. Board the ship. Hold on. Can you give me one for the one time? Oh,
That's a dog. That's a Lobo. You're like
oh.
you're like combining a Lobo with a Viking.
All right, man.
I don't know
just
that
woke up
that's-
my 2-year-old. I got to roll, man.
All right,
All
man.
right, TD. Good talking to you.
All right, later.
Later.